Hello there my friends, hope you all are having a fantastic day right now. In this video we shall be doing something really different. So as you can see I am on Minecraft, and one of the most interesting things in Minecraft is the behavior of the mobs in Minecraft. So I thought it would be really fun to experiment with this and implement it on our own. So for this purpose I chose llamas because they are one of my most favorite mobs in Minecraft. So having said that, let's get started. So before we go ahead and start building our llama behaviors, I would like to show you guys a little demo of what we are going to be doing. We'll be using the Unity engine to do this. Let's see how it looks. So as you can see, I have created this terrain and these are the llamas, and they move in random directions, and they also have this grazing animation. And one extra feature that I added to these llamas is that they can actually move towards the water body and drink some water. So as you can see, this llama right here is moving towards the water, and we can have a better view in the scene. So and now it's slowly moving towards the lake, and it's gonna get some water. So as you can see, there's also this drinking animation right here, and it slowly turns back and heads towards its herd. So now that we know what we are going to be building, we can go ahead and look at what are some things which are needed for us in order to build this. So let me go to the scene view, and here you can see this terrain which I created, and this can be created inside of Unity with the help of some standard assets which you can find in the Unity asset store, and the link to that will be in the description below. And let me give you a quick intro of how this terrain can be made in Unity. So you've got to go here and create a terrain object and make sure that you have that in the correct position. So you'll have a terrain like this, and using the paintbrush tool right here, you can create terrain using the brushes provided. So if you want mountains, you might want to use this, and you can also lower the terrain by holding shift, so something like that. And it's completely left to your creativity how you do that, so I'm not going to cover that in this video. And then you can use the textures provided to paint over the terrain. For example, if you want to paint dirt, then you can add a layer and select this dirt so it's covered with dirt. And let's say we want to add some rock, so just select this, select the rock, and just do stuff like this. So the rock texture will be painted onto the terrain. So I'm going to leave this part to you guys, and the next part that you would need in order to build this would be a 3D model of the llama. So I've got my 3D prefab over here, and it looks something like this. So I modeled this llama on a 3D software called Blender, which is available for free. And I also created two animations which I make use of in the project. So the first one is the walking animation. So it looks something like this. So I know it's not a great animation or anything, but I guess it's enough for our project. And the second one which I made is the grazing animation, which looks something like this. And this is also used for the water drinking animation. So yeah, these are the two animations that I made for this project, and it's not necessary for you to model the llama by yourself. There are a lot of options online which you can use in your Unity project, and you can also check out the Unity asset store for some ideas. So yep, as you can see, I have created a new project in Unity, and I've just created my terrain, and I just drag this llama fbx into the assets folder. So now the first thing that I'll be doing is extract the animation from the llama asset. So now I have created both the walk and the graze animations, and now if we open this up, we can see the two animations over here. So next we have to put this in our scene, and change its scale to 5 so that it scales up to the terrain. And now we are going to add a component called animator so that it can handle our two animations. Now we have to create an animator controller which controls the animations and the behaviors of the animation. So we can go here and create animator controller, and we'll just call it controller. So we can open this in the animator tab, and all we have got to do is to drag these two animations here, and I'm going to create a new state and make that as the default state and make transitions to these two animations so that after completing the animation they just move on to the default state. So that's our animator controller. So now the Llama prefab is complete and you can drag it over here. So now we can drag the animated controller and it would work perfectly fine. So next we'll have to first create a herd game object which is going to control all the llamas in a particular herd. We'll go ahead and create that over here. So I'll just call it herd. And the herd is going to have a script, and this script is a C# script which I'm going to call the herd script. So let's create and add that so it appears over here. So let's edit this herd script. So the first thing that we will be doing in this herd script is to create a list of the llamas that are going to be a part of this herd. So we'll include these two lines like this. So the first line is the llama game object that we just now created, and all these llamas are going to be stored in the static list called llamas. So next we might want to define where we want the herd to be. So we need to find an optimal position for that. And here we observe that a very good position would be this place right here. So I have got the positions of the center of this place, and that is 500x and 100 on the z-axis, just like that. And now we have got the center x and center z coordinates. So now let's go to the start function, and the start function gets called as soon as the screen is initialized. So in the start function we are going to create the llamas and add them into our llamas list. So this is the script for that, and what we are doing is we are selecting a random number in the range 3 to 7 and instantiating those many number of llamas. And here we are specifying the position where we want to instantiate each llama. So that is also going to be a random number, and we are going to define a 50 by 50 area and spawn our llamas in that specific area. So that's what we are doing. So the x position of the llama will be in this range, the y will be 0 at first, and the z will be at this range. And the other argument is the rotation of the llama, and about the x and z axis the llama is not going to be rotated, and about the y axis the llama can have any rotation. So that's all we are going to do in the herd script. So now let's go ahead and create a script for each llama. So you just got to click on the llama prefab and add a script, and we'll call it llama behavior. So something like this. And the script has been created. So we have the start and the update methods in this script, and in the start method we'll have to make a small change. So if you observe in the herd script, we had instantiated the llama at y position 0, and this won't work because 0 might be below our terrain and we'll have to spawn the llama on top of our terrain. So we'll have to adjust that. We'll just write this so that the position of the llama is maintained on top of the terrain. So this function right here gives the height of the terrain at a particular position. So we are back in Unity, and now we have to place our herd game object onto the screen. So let's set its position to 500 and z to 100, and y will be at some intermediate position, so let's just keep it at 100. Now we can add the llama game object here, so we'll just take that and add it to our herd script, and now it should work. So next we can concentrate on moving the llama in a specific direction. So for that we can use this function inside of our update function. So the update function gets called every frame, So we use the translate function and it translates the Z position of the llama by this much. So we'll again copy this and add it over here so that they stay on top of the terrain, just like this. So now that we have done this much, we can start thinking about how our algorithm should work. So there are three important things that we have to pay attention to in this algorithm. So the first one is that the llamas have to stay within the limits of the herd. And the second thing is that the llamas should randomly walk or stop or graze. So these are three things that the llamas should do at all times within the herd. And the third thing is that the llamas very rarely will get thirsty and have to go to the water body to drink water. So we are going to implement these three behaviors for the llama. So let's get started. So the first thing that the llamas will do inside of the group is that they will walk around. So that is what this code is essentially doing, and this should not be very frequent. So we have to limit on the number of times the llama walks. So for that, we will enclose them within this condition right here, which says that the llamas will walk every 100 out of 15,000 times. And the llamas will graze rarely, so we'll have to include a condition for that. So we will include this right here. And the third thing that the llamas have to do is that they have to stay within the group and rotate randomly in different directions. And this should be a frequent occurrence. So we'll again use the random function, but for a small interval, just like that. So this happens 3 out of 100 times. So this is quite frequent. And we also have the next behavior of the llama, that is the drinking water behavior. So we'll have to include that too. So this is a very rare case which occurs 1 in 10,000 times. Now let's go and implement the helper functions. So the first thing that we'll need to do is to play the animations. So we need to include a component over here, and that is the animator component. So this anim helps us to play the animations like walk and graze. So we can just go to the walk block and play the animation like this. And the same can be done for the grace block too. So these two are fairly easy, but we'll have to handle situations that occur when animations are playing. So if the llama is walking, we don't want the llama to suddenly graze in the middle of walking. So in order to handle such situations, we'll have to use some Boolean variables. So we'll head back to Unity and handle these cases. So now we are in Unity, and in our animator, we have the option to create some parameters. So let's first create a bool called is walking and let it be false, and we'll call another bool is grazing, and initially both of them will be false, and when we are walking, then the is walking is set to true. So let's do that, and the same should be done for the grazing too. And once we have done this, we'll need to change the conditions here to ensure that both of these actions do not clash. And the last thing that we will be doing related to these animations is that we will need to set these booleans to false once the animations have been completed. So we'll need to make a function for that. So the function is going to be called anim_ended, and it's going to just set the walking and grazing booleans to false. This function must be called only when any animation gets completed. So we'll go ahead and handle that in Unity. So here we have to go to our animations, that is the walk and the graze animations, and add events at the end. So let's edit them. End. So this event will be calling the anim ended function. So hit apply, and we'll do the same thing for the graze animation too. And once you have done that, you can go ahead and add your animator to your Llama script and run the game. So as you can see, the llamas are randomly grazing and moving. They are not exactly moving, but the walking animation is playing. So we will fix that. the animation is playing and they are being moved every 100 times in 15,000 times, because these statements are executed every 100 out of 15,000 times. So we don't want that to happen. We will cut these two statements and put them at the top. So we will move the llama if the walking animation is playing. Now the llamas will move as long as the walking animation is playing. Next, we can implement the grouping behavior of the llamas. We'll have to write a function for that. So I'm going to call this function group, and the first thing that we are going to do in this function is to check if the llama is too far away from the others. So for that, we would need to know what the center is. So let's define the center just like that. So we'll also need to ensure that the center y position is proper. So we'll again write this statement. So this does just that. So now that we have got the herd center, we can check if the llama's position is very far away from it, just like that. So what we are doing here is we are checking if the distance from the position of the llama to the herd center is more than 25 units. And if that is the case, we are rotating the llama towards the center. And the position of the llama is also updated to be on top of the terrain. So what will happen if we are not too far away from the herd center? So in such a case, the llama will just turn towards a random position. So we need to get a random position for that. So this random position needs to be generated very rarely, because if it is generated frequently, then the llama will look really confused and keep moving in different directions. So here we are generating a random position every 50 times out of 20,000 times. So this needs to be defined above. So let's just go do that, just like that. And initially it will be 0, 0, 0, which we do not want it to be. So in the start function, we can set the rand pos to be the same as the herd center. And now that completes our group function. And make sure that the P here is in capitals, just like that. Now we have got to rotate the llama towards this random position, just like that. And that completes our group function, and we can go ahead and call this function. Now we are just going to implement the drink water function, and we will be done. So now we are in Unity, and we need to find a way for the llama to go towards the water and drink. So the llama, when it wants to drink water, will just turn towards this point and move towards it, then do the grazing animation, and then turn back and come back to its initial position. So that's what we are going to implement. So the first thing that we'll need to do is note down the position where the llama can go and drink water. So I did just that and I got the position. So I will just create a variable here. So this is the position where the llamas can drink water from, and like herd center, we'll need to update it in the start function, just like that. So now we have got the water pause and we can start moving towards it. So this is the block where we are going to start moving towards the water, and we will handle the whole drinking water process in a coroutine. So here I have my coroutine called drink water and it returns null. We will need to capture the position of the llama so that it can return to this position later. This current pause is the position of the llama just before it goes to drink the water. So the next thing that the llama needs to do is to rotate towards the water pause. So this bit of code helps the llama to slowly move towards the water pause. So once we have done that, we'll need to start moving towards the water pause. And this bit of code helps us in achieving that. So what are we doing? So until we reach the water's position, we are just going to keep walking. So once we have reached the water, we need to drink from it. So we'll just play the grazing animation, just like that. So we are just playing the grazing animation and are waiting till the llama has finished grazing. And that completes the first half of this function. And the second half is going to be the same but in the opposite direction. So this bit of code right here is going to enable the llama to rotate towards the current pause, and this will move it towards that pause and stop. And the only issue that we need to address right now is the clashing between the drink water coroutine and the other behaviors like walking and grazing. So we can have a boolean called is drinking, which is initially set to false, and once we reach here, that is when we want to drink water, we set this to true. And while this is true, none of these things can really happen. So now all of this will take place only if the llama is not in drinking mode. So that solves it. And once we have completed drinking water, we need to also set is drinking to false. So we'll go here and do that false. All that is left to do is to call it inside the block. So here start this coroutine. So once we have done this, it should all work well. So I just noticed a couple of errors in our code, and that is that while we are playing this animation, it's not llama walk but walk. Make sure that you get that right. So once we have fixed all our errors, we can go back to Unity and check how it works. So there we go. All of them are peacefully grazing and moving about. And I think this one right here is wanting to drink some water, so it's moving towards that point. So here they are finally near the water, and let's see what they do. They are getting in a little bit closer and drinking the water, and slowly turn around and get back to the herd. And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure that you smash the like button and subscribe for more such videos. And as usual, the code will be on GitHub. Make sure that you check that out. Bye for now, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.